So these questions I gave to you, like question 1, question 2, 3, and 4. This is what I gave you. And question 5, 6, 7, 8 will be given a second activity of this chapter. So for now, let me go from the question 1. For each of the following pairs of the goods, which goods would you expect to have more elastic demand and why? So one thing you should clarify for your own self that there are two types of goods. One is luxury, the other one is required good, okay? The normal good. So luxury and normal one. So this is what we know it, the required one. So there is a big difference between the luxury and so on. There is a definition between broad and narrow definition. There is called long run and short run definition for the products. Like in the long run and short run, the elasticity of demand or supply changes as well. So starting with the part A, required textbook and the mystery novels. Mystery novels have more elastic demand than required textbooks because the mystery novels have got some substitutes, some close substitutes, and they are considered to be as a luxury product. So comparing to the required textbooks that you're using in the schools, they're kind of necessity products, actually with no close substitutes. So it's required, you have to take. There is no other than this book. This is what you need to take. So these types of books, like required books, the necessity products, have got, they are more inelastic oriented in contrast to mystery novels. Mystery novels are actually as considered to be as luxury. So this is required. We said it is about the necessity, and the mystery novels about luxuriness. Okay. If the price of mystery novels is about to increase, the readers actually could substitute other types of novels and buy fewer of the novels altogether. But if the price of required textbook is about to increase, the student would have actually little choice to find or replace something. So they will have to pay the higher price. So that's the quantity demanded for required textbook is actually less responsive. It's a necessity product. It will respond less. So a huge change in the price will not have a huge change in the quantity. However, when it comes to the mystery novels, books, mystery novels, change in the price will have a huge change in the quantity demanded. Or let me give you the number of percentages if you want to express in terms of numbers. Yes? Okay, I think somebody entered and just. So required textbooks are inelastic, mystery novels are elastic, and we categorize them as necessity product and luxury product. So this is about A. B, Beethoven recordings and classical music recordings in general. Beethoven recordings have more elastic demand than classical music recordings in general. Beethoven recordings are narrower market than the classical musical recording. So there's a narrower definition in here. So it is easier to find a close substitute for them. So Beethoven and classical. Classical is more general. In classical, you can consider many types of music, but in Beethoven, it's a more specific. And that's why it may have a something very close substitute. But for classical, and we can compare the rock music, okay? Classical and rock. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say Ali Sayeduddin is here. Ali, can you hear me? Okay, he's not here.
Professor, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Sorry, my mic
Ali,
was on mute.
yeah, okay. Can you tell me which type of music do you like to listen, classic or rock music?
I prefer classic.
Classic, okay. You prefer classic. So if the
Yeah.
price of for rock music falls down, would you shift from classic to rock music?
I mean, I'd consider, yeah. I'd consider, but not really. No, I wouldn't, because I like classic music.
You like the classic music, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
So have you ever heard the rock music itself? Did you have a chance to listen?
Yes, I have. I have.
So do you like any of the rock music?
No, I'm not. I'm not a fan of rock music. Not at all. Just
Okay,
only classic.
that's what I want to hear from you. That the classical music,
Okay.
you're away like from the rock music. So no matter what happens to the rock music price, that will not affect your decision, like to shift from the classical to rock music, because you're this is what it says, like
True.
broad definition. The broad definition tells you that if the products are broadly defined, this tells you that demand for this type of products are inelastic. But if the product is narrowly defined, like a Beethoven, or in a classic music, if you go more specifically, let's say any classical singer, which is narrowly defined, that becomes more elastic. So Beethoven recordings are narrower markets defined than classical music recordings. And it is easier to find for narrower defined products the substitute for them. So in the classical music, Ali, which type, what are the singers that you're following? What are the singers that you're listening to? Give me two or three.
I mean,
One or two, just any.
well, okay, well, I would say for classical music,
Yeah.
I would be listening to. Let me think. Nothing comes to mind right now.
Iranian. What about Arash?
Um,
Have you heard about him?
Arash. Actually, to be honest, I've had someone say I look like Arash for some reason. That was weird. But no, I've never heard of Arash.
You have not heard about Arash.
Mm,
I think it's he's very popular
no, no, no,
in
no.
Central Asia, in Kazakhstan. Everybody almost listened like before. Maybe not in your age. Anyway, any of them.
Okay,
Backstreet.
but I'd listen to like Franz Schubert.
Okay, so what it says here, like specifically when you define your product, like even like specifying the singer, it gives you more elasticityness of the product. So changing in the price will bring more changes in quantity. This is what it is about narrow definition and broad definition. So this is narrow and this is broad definition. Subway rides during the next 6 months and subway rides during the next 5 years. So subway rides during the next 5 years have more elastic demand than subway rides during the next 6 months. Goods have more elastic demand over the long time horizon. If the fare for the subway ride was to rise temporarily, the consumers could not switch to other forms of transportation without a great expense, or it's a great inconvenience actually. But if the fares for the subways ride was to remain high for a long time, the people would gradually switch to alternative forms of transportation. As a result, the quantity of demanded of the subway rides during the next 6 months will be less responsive, which shows that it will be inelastic or less elastic in contrast to over long term. So in the long run, demand for products is more elastic than in the short run. This is what it said in here. Now we're coming to root beer and water. Root beer has more elastic demand than the water because the root beer is considered to be as a luxury product with a close substitute, while water is a necessity product with no close substitute. If the price of the water were to rise and consumers have a little choice but to pay the higher price, but if the price were root beer were to increase and the consumer could easily switch to other raw sodas and beverages that can easily substitute root beers. So the quantity demanded for the root beers is more responsive to changes in the price in contrast to the quantity demanded of the water. This is D. So in here we can say that root beer has the substitutes, but the water being as a necessity product doesn't have any substitute. So that makes the things more oriented to inelasticness of the water, and the root beer becomes more elastic in contrast to the water because it can be substituted for something else. This is question 1. Question 2. Suppose that the business travelers, vacationers have the following demand for airline tickets from the New York to Boston. The price $150, $200, $250, and $300, and it has the quantities are differently changing for business travelers and the vacationers from 2,100 to 1,800 and from 1,000 to 400 respectively. And in part A, as the price of ticket increases from 200 to 250. So what is the price elasticity of demand for the business travelers and vacationers? So we have to use in here midpoint methods in our calculation. So if the price changes from 200 to 250, the quantity will change from 2,000 to 1,900 in business travelers, okay? So elasticity demand for the business travelers is equal to, and we know it's a percentage change in the quantity divided by percentage change in price. However, you're using midpoint. So whenever you divide it by 2, so it's exactly the same thing that we did it in the class. So we'll just get the numbers. We said that 2,000 minus 1,900. It will change because the price will increase from 200 to 250. And this should be divided by the midpoint between 2,000 and 1,900. So the midpoint between this and this. So 2,000 plus 1,900 divided by 2, it gives you 1,950. And this all should be divided by the price change. And the price changing from 250, so it's increased to 250, so 250 minus 200, and divided by midpoint, so 250 plus 200, and divided by 2, it's going to give you 225. So this is what we call as a midpoint. And this will give you the elasticity of business travelers. Elasticity of demand for the business travelers, so which is 0.23. So before calculating even by logic, even by words, as you can see, the business travelers and the vacationers, they have a choice not to travel, but the business travelers, they don't have any choices. They have to travel. For example, when I used to work in a private company, actually we are given a certain amount of money for holiday accommodation issue. And when we were like about to go to Dubai, and the Dubai prices are not really low as in contrast to other countries, even the European countries, you can even find the very small fares. However, in the Dubai, the worst I mean, hotel, the worst hotel costed $100 per night. But it was a bit high then, because for $100 in Moscow, you can stay in 5-star hotel, like Ritz-Carlton and so on. In Turkey, same, in Istanbul, in Antalya, in Italy, even same thing. However, when it comes to Dubai, the price is a bit higher in contrast those cities that I have mentioned already. And you don't have any choices. You have to go there for the business issue. So you have to sacrifice this amount of the money. So this means that the price does not matter in terms of quantity demanded. Okay, it's less, the price changes is less responsive to quantity demanded. So we are expecting that the elasticity of demand for business travelers to be less elastic, like to be inelastic, which is less than 1, 0.23 if you calculate it. And elasticity of vacationers, they are considered to be as more elastic because it's a luxury product. You can change it and you can go over if you want, you cannot go. If the price goes down, you go and get the benefits of the vacation. If the price goes down, increases, you just refuse to go and so on. So it's a vacation. And in the vacation case, it's a luxury product and the responsiveness of the quantity demanded to a price is high as well because it's more elastic. So when the price changes from 200 to 150, the quantity demanded for vacation will change from 800 to 600, okay? So 800 minus 600 and all divided by the midpoint, which is 700. And if you calculate, you should have calculated, you should have got like 1.33, which is more than 1, and it shows that it's elastic. It shows that it's elastic. So this is A. B, why might vacationers have different elasticity from business travelers? So why they might be different? We already explained it, the situation behind this, but let me repeat it again. The price of elasticity of demand for vacationers is higher than elasticity for business travelers because vacationers can choose a substitute more easily than the business travelers. For example, the vacationers can choose different mode of transportation like driving or taking the train and taking the plane, so whatever the cheaper. Sometimes going to Europe is cheaper by train from Turkey than going by plane, or it's cheaper by plane than going by. So in the winter, when there was no quarantine, it was cheaper to go by train to the Europe in contrast to the plane. But nowadays, in summertime, there's a charter flights. It is really too much cheaper. Like it's very low. The fares are really low to get to Europe, like Germany, Italy, and Spain, and so on. The prices, the fares are really more than affordable actually, in contrast to the train. So the seasonal effect as well. So with a different destination, with a different departure date and different return date, the price changes. So you have a lot of opportunities, you have a lot of substitutes, you can just replace it. So this may also choose to not to travel at all. The business travelers are less likely to do so because their schedules are planned before they travel, maybe in 1 year before they get. For example, if you had a chance to work in a private company, big private companies, and if you have a chance to work, you will see that the companies are doing their planning 1 year before they travel because they're trying to accommodate, they're trying to dedicate certain amount of the budget to marketing, to traveling, and so on in advance. So this is B. be, I'm going to put I'm not going to type whatever I have said. It's being recorded, one. And second, it's going to be uploaded, the solutions that I'm talking now, it will be uploaded and it will be typed as well. You can see it in the Moodle, don't worry. Or you can just re-listen whatever we have recorded in here. Question 3, suppose the price elasticity of demand for heating oil is 0.2 and in the short run, but 0.7 in the long run. If the price of heating oil rises from 1.8 to 2.2 per gallon, what happens to the quantity of heating oil demanded in the short run and in the long run? So using the midpoint method in the calculations. So what we're doing here, the price elasticity is given already. The price of elasticity is given already. So what you need to do in here, elasticity of demand is percentage change in quantity divided by percentage change in price. Okay, this is what we know the formula. We said that the quantity, price elasticity is 0.2 in the short run. And which is equal to, quantity is not known. This is what we need to find. What will happen to the quantity if the price increases from 1.8 to 0.2 to 2.2 minus 1.8, and this all divided by 2. So what I do here, it's very straightforward. You just rearrange everything. So percentage change in the quantity is equal to 0.2 times this part. Okay, and that will give you the percentage change in quantity. If in the short run, as we said, change in the price in the short run will be less responsive. The quantity demanded will be less responsive in the short run, but in the long run, change in the price, the responsiveness of the quantity demanded will be higher. It will be more elastic. So we'll see how it works in here. So in the short run, we can see that if you calculate, you should get 4%, okay, 0.04, or we can just make it 4%. And in the long run, which is 7, in the long run, if you put it, you have to get, if you calculate, you'll get it 0.14, and this is 14%. So as you can see that in the long run, the quantity demanded is more responsive than in the short run. This is theory that is supported. So whatever we said in the question 1, now we are applying in a practice. Okay. We said that, first of all, when the products are luxury and necessity, luxury products are more elastic than necessity products. Then we said the definition plays a significant role. Narrowly defined products are more elastic than broad defined products. Like if you're talking about more specifically, when you say liquid or classical music, under the classical music, there are many types of music like Turkish, Iranian, Arabic, Russian, English. There are many. You can substitute the classical music, many. And when you say more specifically, let's say Turkish one, Tarkan, it's an old singer. You might have not been listening to, or you might not listening now. But anyway, just in a broad defined market product, it's a broad. It has got less elasticity. It has got less responsiveness in contrast to the narrowly defined market product. Narrowly defined product, they have got close substitute that can be replaced. But when you say the classical music, you have to compare classical with rock, with something else, and so on. Or we have classical, pop, rock, and whatever the case, okay? You need to compare with that. But if you're only adhere to listen to classic music, and cannot move to any other if the price changes. This is what we define. And the last thing that we said, that long run and the short run really plays a significant issue in here. So you have to be very careful when you say about the long run and short run. Long run, elasticity of demand is more elastic, and in the short run, it's less elastic. So less responsive to the changes in the price. We're moving to why might this elasticity depend on the time horizon. We already explained it. I don't have to explain it. So over the time, we said consumer can make adjustment. And in the short run, actually, they don't have a time to do these adjustments. So they will be less responsive. A price changes causes the quantity demanded of goods to decrease by 30%, while total revenue of that good increases by 15%. So is this demand curve elastic or inelastic? Explain. If you remember, we talked in the slides here. Let me just remind you again. Show you that graph to remind you. Here, the case of inelastic demand. The extra revenue change, like when the demand curve is inelastic, the extra change revenue from the selling at the higher price is greater than the lost revenue from the selling fewer units. So impact of the price change in the total revenue depends on the elasticity of the demand. So demand curve is inelastic. In this case, the increase in the price will lead to decrease in the quantity demand. But if the demand curve is elastic, increase in the price will bring you to increase in the total revenue. Okay. So as you can see here, it said that there's a reduction, decrease, but it brings you increase in the total revenue. So if the quantity demanded fall, the price might have increased according to the law of demand. For price increase to increase the total revenue, the percentage increase in the price must be greater than percentage decline in the quantity demanded. So in this case, we prove that demand curve is inelastic because in reduction, price causes a reduction in the quantity demanded. So that means the price have increased. So increasing the price, reduce the quantity demanded. And that shows that percentage increase in the price is greater than percentage decline in the quantity demanded. That leads to inelasticness. So the demand curve is inelastic in this case. Okay, I'm done for today. I would like to ask you to go to Moodle. There's activity 9. The questions are here. They're similar what we done now so far. They're similar to this. Please do not copy paste, do not copy from each other. Try to do it on your own. If you will do it only one question or two questions, it will be your own effort. Okay? Try to do it on your own. You can start doing it now. I will not take any attendance. I will not take any attendance because submitting the activity will be counted as attendance. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If you don't have any question, start doing your activities.
Okay, thank you.
It would be graded or no?
Of course, all activities will be graded, but not for correctness, for
Oh,
your
okay.
effort.
Okay, thank you.
So, Professor, you will take the attendance by the activity?
Yes, yes,
Okay, so we can go now, yeah?
yes, sure.
Thank you, bye.
And activity should be submitted before 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, take care.
Goodbye.
Bye.